接下来呢，有3堂课呢，都是由 Dr. Hayes 来讲。Dr. Hayes 本身呢，他也身体力行他自己作为女性的医生他用了很多以他个人的一些经历讲了一些事情。但是他这3堂课呢，重点是讲 Women's Health。那我们来看他的演讲，这节课的演讲题目呢是 Women's Hormones and Women's Health， 就是女性的激素和女性的健康。Part 1 Hormone Balance。那第一部分呢是激素平衡。接下来这个词很有意思 ，the matrix within the matrix， 什么意思呢？就是在一个矩阵网络当中的矩阵。它呢，首先呢讲到了主要的一些激素，也就是说，把功能医学很多基础的理论都应用到了这节课里边。那么主要的激素，大家还记得就是从下丘脑，那么到垂体，接下来到甲状腺，到肾上腺，那么这些主要激素讲完了以后呢，要讲女性特殊的激素，也就是女性特有的，比如说雌激素的代谢等等。那么它这里边呢，把功能医学基础的说人体实际上是一个互联网的这样的概念呢，应用的淋漓尽致。那么它把心理、神经、免疫、消化、循环、内分泌系统都把它综合来考虑进去，来解释妇女患某些慢性疾病它的一些原因。那在这方面呢，Hayes 它的特点呢，就是他讲的非常的应该说非常综合，而且他不断的抓取功能医学的一些基本原理，所以把他的课呢放在后边呢，如果大家听了前面的课呢，就觉得特别的过瘾，因为很多过去听的事情在他这节课里边都得到引用，甚至得到验证那么这里边还有一些小的细节，如果大家需要注意的呢，那就是Hayes 他如何把这种综合的分析应用到某一个个人身上，或者某一个具体的病例身上，那么来解释这个病人为什么会患这样的疾病，是什么原因通过这么多系统的综合的影响导致他患的这样的综合征，然后我们逐步来调理。所以他的课呢，要听起来可能会很累特别是他引用了很多过去学的东西，但是呢，如果你要是好好的掌握了功能医学的基本原理呢，你会听起来特别特别的舒服。
Well, whoever made it snow last night, thank you. It makes me feel right at home. Today is Women's Day. We need to turn that down a little. So this is my son, Seth, who lived in China for 2 years. And Seth taught me to say, 大家好. Did I do it right? Yeah. Good. He also said to wear red in honor of China. So when you are wandering in foreign territory, it's good to have a map. And this is the map we're going to be following today. You are here in communication or hormones. And on the steroidogenic pathway map, you are here. We will be looking at women's hormones. So what are hormones? Well, when I went to medical school in 1971, hormones were small molecules or polypeptides that were secreted by specific glands. And they acted at a distance. Now, in 2003, hormones are small molecules or polypeptides that are secreted by cells or glands that act locally and at a distance. They are coordinated both locally and centrally to create homeostasis or balance. They interact with the brain, the hypothalamus. They interact with the immune system, with the gastrointestinal system, the endothelium, and the endocrine system. So now a hormone talk looks more like this. You don't even need to know the names on each one of those circles to see that it's very complex. So now, rather than an HPO, hypothalamic pituitary ovarian system, we have a psycho, neuro, immuno, gastrointestinal, cardiovascular endocrine system that affects the structure and function of every part of our body. In the five-element theory of traditional Chinese medicine, the Yellow Emperor's Classic of Internal Medicine, which was written over 2,000 years ago, describes the human body as an inseparable, integrated whole with functions of all of the organs interconnected and interdependent. It took Western medicine a while to catch up. With hormones, a powerful hormone like estrogen affects neurotransmitters, cytokines, the thyroid, and testosterone. Adrenaline can affect cortisol and lots of other hormones, and each one of these hormones actually affects every other hormone. So we have a web of interaction, or a matrix of interaction, and I like to call this the web within the web, or the matrix within the matrix. Well, what do hormones help the body to do? One very clever simplification says there are only two things that a cell does. Just two things. It either moves toward, grows, and replicates, or it moves away, withdraws, and shuts down in order to conserve energy and defend itself. At the organism level, we move towards, we love, and we reproduce, or we withdraw and protect ourselves. At the social level, we make connections like we've been doing this week, or we make wars. So there's a balance between these two functions. Now, Diana Schwartzbein says that there are major and minor hormones, and I've divided the major hormones that are associated with these two functions and the minor hormones. And I guess if we didn't have hormones, we might still look like this. We might still be one-celled organisms, because it takes hormones for all the cells in the body to interact and work as a whole. It takes hormones for all the cells inside the body to know what's going on out there. So let's talk about the major hormones. Hormones are called major hormones in Dr. Schwartzbein's understanding if the hormone is gone today, you're dead tomorrow. That would make it a major hormone, meaning very important. So the major hormones are adrenaline, cortisol, and insulin. And then there are the minor hormones. I was very sad to hear that the hormones I spent my whole career studying, estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, were minor hormones. But really they are, because a minor hormone, you can live for many days, months, maybe even years without these hormones. So to give you an idea of how this works, I'm going to show you a strange little film, and I'm going to narrate the film. Okay, let's try this again. hormones balance each other. When one hormone changes, all the others may change slightly. As long as the change is minimal, the system has no trouble rebalancing. When a foreign substance or a hormone from outside is introduced, it becomes more difficult for the system to rebalance. Let's turn it down a little. That's especially true if the signal being given by that foreign substance is not the same as the normal signal, such as toxic xenoestrogens. Hormones must be able to dance, to fluctuate. If they can't fluctuate, chaos ensues. The fewer hormones you have that can respond, the more difficult it is to achieve balance. Until finally the system is locked down or too rigid, and the next hormone insult may be the last. So now you understand hormones. Hormones allow us to interact with the environment. They allow every cell in our body to know what's going on out there. So this guy probably has lots of hormones racing around in his body to help him deal with this terrifying event that he's undergoing. Hormones also balance the metabolism, the breakdown and replacement of structural and functional chemicals. Can we turn down the microphone just a little? We're getting feedback. An example of this is the way that estrogen affects the building and renewal of bone cells. So let's talk about the three major hormones. The first one is adrenaline. If adrenaline is your top hormone, you will be losing weight. So everything we've ever been taught to do to lose weight raises adrenaline. You need to remember that when you see people who are working hard to lose weight. Adrenaline makes you anxious. And if you're a midlife woman, or actually even a man, adrenaline causes hot flashes. Adrenaline can make you cold because of the compensatory hypothyroidism that Dr. Hanaway talked about yesterday. And eventually, adrenaline will cause muscle wasting unless you're exercising to build your muscles. So these runners have very scrawny arms, but powerful leg muscles. And this is the adrenaline body type. Now in America, this is our favorite way of raising adrenaline. Caffeine works by inhibiting the metabolism of adrenaline. In America, energy drinks have become a $3 billion industry, with about 500 new brands promising faster fat burning, enhanced sports performance, improved sexual performance, and they even combine them with alcohol and tell you that it cancels out the effect of the alcohol, which is actually not true. One type of drink, the Rock Star, has 240 milligrams of caffeine per 16-ounce container, compared with only 190 milligrams in an equal amount of coffee. By blocking the adenosine receptor, caffeine produces effects like the effect of stress, and it exaggerates the effect of exogenous stress. So you can imagine where we're headed drinking these drinks as young teenagers. This sign says sleep is overrated and promises hyper-caffeinated coffee. Like, coffee's not enough. We have to make it super coffee. Okay, here's what happens next. If you have adrenaline, you automatically raise cortisol. Automatically raise cortisol. Every time you release adrenaline, you are releasing cortisol. Now, this is a picture of the muffin top that Christy told you about yesterday, the little fluffy fat that hangs out over your blue jeans. And we're seeing more and more young people whose top hormone is cortisol. Now, cortisol makes you depressed. You can be depressed and anxious if you still have enough adrenaline driving your cortisol to make the anxiety happen. You put on weight around the middle, belly fat. You have frequent infections because cortisol is designed to turn down the immune system. And you can also have any of the high adrenaline symptoms if you got to high cortisol by raising adrenaline. Now, the number one thing that elevates cortisol is actually food. I found this study in a textbook of endocrinology, and it shows cortisol levels drawn every 20 minutes in a normal subject. And I'm looking at this and saying, wow, what's making those spikes of cortisol? And I looked at it, and I looked at the whole page, and there were several examples, and they all had these spikes, and I thought, what's making those spikes? And then I suddenly went, oh, breakfast, lunch, dinner. That's what's raising the cortisol. And this one, maybe midnight snack over there at the far end. So here's the whole page, and you can see this person had breakfast, skipped lunch, dinner. Here's breakfast, lunch, business lunch, dinner. And here's one with a midnight snack over here. Okay. Cortisol is raised because when we eat foods that we react to, cortisol is required to turn off the immune system's reaction. This is why food sensitivity is so important in a culture where stress is one of the big problems. It's one of the ways you can get a handle on cortisol and lower cortisol levels. So then what happens is if your cortisol is high all the time, one of the things that cortisol does is it raises blood sugar, right? So if you raise your blood sugar, but then you don't go run away from the tiger or fight the tiger, where are you going to put that sugar? You're going to store it as fat. And if you get a signal all the time with insulin, all the time, all the time, all the time, pretty soon the cells are going to be going, no, 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 no. We're not listening to that. And you get insulin resistance. And then insulin levels go even higher. Insulin is an inflammatory molecule. So now you have inflammation, arthritis, skin rash, incontinence, and cardiovascular disease. The cardiovascular syndrome, or we used to call it Syndrome X, of high blood pressure, obesity, and high cholesterol, is actually probably due to high insulin, but only if you come through high cortisol. And any of the high adrenaline or high cortisol symptoms can be seen in this group of patients. Okay. Whoops, this slide is not working. All right, we're going to go on because the slide's not working. Okay. There's one other body type that you need to know, and this is the high estrogen body type. So estrogen causes you to put weight on in the, we call it the saddlebag area, in the thighs. Neither one of these is a good body type to have. If you have the high cortisol body type, the apple body type, you're going to be at higher risk for cardiovascular disease and insulin resistance. If you have the high estrogen body type, you're going to be more at risk for bleeding problems, fibroids, endometriosis, and breast cancer. So those are the major hormones. And now we're going to talk about the minor hormones. So here are the minor hormones, and they dance with each other. They balance each other, they talk to each other, they're in a complex dance. So what happens if you suddenly pull one of those dancers out of the mix? Or if you suddenly add another dancer in on top? You're going to throw the whole dance out of kilter. Hormones allow the organism to interact with its environment. They balance the metabolism, the breakdown and replacement of structural and functional chemicals. They interact with each other to create maximum flexibility in response to the environment. And they balance each other to create homeostasis. So every time we change this delicate balance by removing an ovary, by adding a hormone, we have to think, how is it going to affect the dance? Am I going to make the dance better, or am I going to make it worse? And the more hormones we lock down, oh, you have a thyroid problem, we're going to give you thyroid hormone. Now, can thyroid hormone dance? No. We're giving the same amount every day. It's locked down. And what about estrogen? Oh, we took your ovaries out, we're going to give you estrogen. Estrogen. Locked down. Can't dance. So I like to say, you have a lot of dancers out on the dance floor, and they're all dancing around, and it's really lovely. And then suddenly some idiot stops dancing. Stops. Now everyone else has to dance around him, right? Oh, let's dance around this idiot standing on the dance floor. Okay? So we all have to work harder. Then someone else stops dancing. Now we really have to work hard to dance. If we replace that hormone, we're not fixing that dancer. He's not dancing again. But if we replace that hormone to the correct level, it's like we take him off the dance floor. So there aren't as many dancers, but at least he's not standing in the way, making trouble. And that's what we're doing when we remove and replace hormones. So we have to be very, very careful. So these are the important concepts. Hormones interact with each other to create flexibility in the system and to balance it. And a corollary to that is if we give hormones, we can either balance the system, if we give the right amount, or we can make the balance worse. We can unbalance the system. So let's do a case presentation. So this is a 33-year-old Caucasian female who had her uterus and ovaries removed because of pain and endometriosis. And we're going to talk about endometriosis this afternoon. Because she had her uterus removed, she was placed on estrogen only. In the United States, we've learned from the Women's Health Initiative that artificial progestins increase the risk of breast cancer. So if you don't have to protect the lining of the uterus, you don't give the progestin. So she was given estrogen only. Her history of gastrointestinal and detoxification problems were not addressed by her former gynecologist, because in conventional medicine, those are not gynecologic problems. Her chief complaint was, I'm losing my marriage, I'm gaining weight. So she has loss of libido, she has vaginal irritation and dryness, and she's irritable. So in a functional medicine approach, what do we do first? If you learn nothing else this week, I want you to learn to answer that question. Go to the matrix. Fix the other things you can fix before you give hormones. So she needs to have her gastrointestinal issues treated with a 5R program, which you learned from Dr. Hanaway. She needs to have her exercise program evaluated. She needs to have her detoxification issues addressed. And she needs to have stress addressed. We also need to measure her hormone levels and see what they look like. I have a guess. I know what I think they're going to look like. But I'm not absolutely sure. She could be an outlier. She could be the odd person whose hormone levels are not what I'm expecting. And we need to treat with appropriate hormones, the right hormones, starting at low doses and slowly working up to reach symptom relief. Now, one of the things that we did wrong in hormone therapy in the United States is we started with very high levels. We started with amazingly high levels, and we gradually said, oh, that's too high, bring it down. Oh, that's too high, well, bring it down. Oh, that's too high, bring it down. And now we're at probably the right level. In this patient, we looked at gliadin antibodies because so many Americans are struggling with wheat sensitivity. And she had positive antibodies for the wheat protein gliadin. So we put her on a gluten-free diet, and wow, she felt better. She had more energy. She began to lose weight. She was less irritable. So why did that happen? Well, according to the hormone way of looking at that, we took her off of an antigen that was creating inflammation. Now she didn't need to release as much cortisol every day, so with the cortisol lowered, she had more energy, she started losing weight, and she was less irritable. One single treatment. We also evaluated her exercise program, and she was actually doing too much exercise. She was trying so hard to lose weight that she would go out and run and run and run to lose weight, and she would come home exhausted. And when she ran that much, she actually raised her adrenaline, which drove cortisol, which made the whole situation worse. So we put her on a graduated program, starting with just walking, but doing it on a regular basis for short periods of time. and then gradually increasing the amount of time and the speed of her walking. And the other thing she did, Dr. Hyman told you that people do better on these projects if they have friends, a group of people to do them together. So she found a group of friends who were exercising by walking, and they really had a great time going out together. And that made it easier and more fun for her to keep up her exercise program. Ultimately, we have to help patients find programs they can do for the rest of their life. So if the program is a burden, if the program is no fun, she's going to do it for a while and then she's going to quit. But if she has something fun to do, she's going to want to keep doing that. Then we tested her hormone levels, and we looked at her estrogen metabolites. And in the next few hours, I'm going to be teaching you why we look at estrogen metabolites. Turned out she was not detoxifying her estrogen. She was not metabolizing and getting rid of her estrogens well. We also did a stool test looking for beta-glucuronidase. Dr. Roundtree taught you that beta-glucuronidase keeps you from excreting your estrogen. It pulls the glucuronide off, the estrogen gets reabsorbed, and people with high levels of beta-glucuronidase will have higher levels of estrogen. She was also placed on indole-3-carbinol, that's a broccoli, cabbage, and cauliflower factor, to improve her detoxification of estrogens. So we didn't put her on a lot of supplements, just a few. We also asked her to look at stress. And her stressors included her internal stressor, the gluten, and external stressors, her marital issues. So she was referred to marriage counseling with her husband. And because they communicated better, it lowered her stress, improved her marriage. Her husband began to understand that she was suffering from some hormone problems that were being fixed, and he supported her in her exercise and diet programs. The hormone levels were measured, including urinary hormone metabolites. Testosterone was found to be low, as you would expect with a woman who's had her ovaries removed. And sex hormone binding globulin, the globulin that binds estrogen and testosterone and kind of keeps it out of trouble as it wanders around the body, was found to be too high. So she was placed on a hormone replacement that contained very low levels of estrogen. She needed some estrogen, but not much. We took her off of the estrogen-only replacement that she had been on, and we gave her testosterone and progesterone. The progesterone to help support her adrenals and balance the small amount of estrogen, and the testosterone in order to not particularly to give her increased libido, although if it's really low it could do that. The main reason was to lower sex hormone binding globulin so that the estrogen we gave her could be released and running and affecting the system. So what was the outcome? Within about 3 months, she said, I feel more like myself. She had improved libido. She had less vaginal dryness. She had more energy and interest in life. She had fewer GI complaints. And with the improved diet and exercise programs, she has lost weight. But maybe the most important thing we've done is lower her risks of later diseases. We've lowered cortisol. We've decreased her chance of becoming insulin resistant. We've decreased her chance of cardiovascular disease and stroke and maybe breast cancer. So how does giving a hormone disrupt the balance? Well, giving her estrogen alone disrupted the balance because it increased sex hormone binding globulin, making estrogen and testosterone less available. So the important concepts here are that hormones interact with each other to maintain balance. And there are 3 levels of balance. There's system-wide balance. There's hormone balance. And then there are female hormones that need to be balanced. So what did we do with this patient? First, we went to the matrix to balance the system. We improved her GI function. We improved detoxification. And we improved physical activity. Then we treated her adrenal and thyroid issues by lowering cortisol. We decreased her internal and external stress. And finally, we got to her female hormones. Now, you can imagine how confusing it is for patients who come in to see me because I'm the female hormone expert, and they come in and say, I think it's my hormones. I need to have you give me hormones. And I say, we're going to look at your GI tract. And they go, what? I came for hormones. I didn't come for my gastrointestinal tract. So that's when telling that story back, the ATMs, and explaining how treating the gastrointestinal tract is going to affect hormones can make a huge difference. When we treated this patient's female hormones, we measured them before we treated. I didn't guess what her hormone levels were. I replaced only the missing hormones. I didn't give her some protocol to treat everyone who has hormone issues. I gave her the hormones she individually needed. I treated her with bioidentical molecules, the same molecule that her body makes, not an artificial molecule. In the United States for the last 50 years, we've been treating women with horse hormones, with Premarin. Actually with horse hormones that come from horses' urine. And if you take a Premarin pill and break it apart, you can smell the urine. I don't know how we got women to take those. Actually, I do know how we sugar-coated them. I guess women will take anything that has a sugar coating on it. Those hormones are not identical. So many of them are chemicals our body goes, what's that? I don't know what that is. I don't know how to get rid of it. And I have to use generic detoxification methods to get rid of it. Finally, in this patient, we replaced her to physiologic levels. We want to get the replacement correct and get that dancer off the dance floor and not unbalance the system any further than it already is. So finding the right balance in the system, in the hormones, and with her female hormones was the key to getting this patient back to health. Okay, let's talk about another perimenopausal woman. Perimenopause is a time of hormonal chaos. And that's the problem. Hormone levels are changing.